All right. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time zone you're in, everyone. This is the semifinals of our middle school league. And we have Kai on one hand playing a cool Oath deck, and uh, Masa on the other hand, who's in Japan right now. So that's why I say good morning. It's 9:45, and he is playing his favorite, a Replenish enchantment deck. So lots of enchantments here.
Yeah. I think Masa has played this deck in basically all of our leagues, and it's a very beautiful replenish deck. It's like all foil Japanese, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, got to get foil Japanese Urza block cards. Clearly, that's the best investment.
Yeah, and Kai's on like I'm not sure, like parfait I feel like is a category of decks that encompasses everything, but but
It's
I
got
would
layers.
call
It's
this,
deep.
yeah, I would call this a parfait deck. It is a land tax deck that also is playing Oath of Druids, where his oath hits are Acroma and Phantom Neshoba. Um,
Yeah, interesting. All right, Akroma is sweet. All right. Speaking of land tax, Kai's keeping it on book, and that's the opening. So whose enchantments are better? Game one. What does Kai have that stops replenish once it's on the stack? Like, does he have anything for that?
so he does have one Phyrexian Furnace in the main deck. It looks like, so he can um, use that to exile cards from his graveyard, and he's playing 4 Enlightened Tutors, so he can go find it. And these are open deck lists, so he
Okay.
potentially could go, like he knows what Moss is up to, so he can potentially like tutor for that right away if he has a tutor.
Yeah. So this does open deck list, so everybody knows what's going on. There's not going to be any. Oh, you're doing that. Uh, Masa is playing right now. Is resolving strategic planning. So fun fact. I'm just gonna. Many years ago, I spent a couple of bucks acquiring this card, strategic planning, because it was only in Portal Three Kingdoms at the time. Now this card has been reprinted and has basically no value. But those of us who remember when we were really desperate for some blue cantrips, um, spending real money getting strategic plannings to put into our decks. So, so I appreciate Masa bringing the Portal Three Kingdoms version of the card, reminding us of the good old days.
Yeah, and notably, one of the cards that is a difference between middle school and pre-modern, because it is a portal card, and that is the only way in which it's legal in middle school, and the portal sets are not legal in pre-modern. Um, and it's kind of interesting in the replenish deck because it does load your graveyard, but also help you find replenish. So it's kind of kind of a cool card for that deck.
Yeah. All right. So both players just kind of jockeying for position, getting a little bit of value to out of our land tax, but Kai didn't want to move to discard, so just grabbed one planes. And I have to say I appreciate seeing blue-white mana on the table, some Darker Ways, some Skycloud Expanses. It feels good, man. Even if we're doing busted replenish stuff, I got no complaints.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that Kai does not have a tutor at the start of this game, um, is really good for Masa, because I feel like once he starts filling his graveyard, he can't respond on the stack. So um,
Yeah, I feel like game one's got to be pretty bad for Kai. So Kai's
yeah,
playing Oath of Druids, which depends on your opponent, having creatures, and most of the deck is not doing that. so
right.
so Kai's like primary game plan, which is to cheat out, Chroma or Phantom Neshoba, is not really very meaningful for the vast majority of this game. Like it won't matter until a bunch of enchantments have showed up and opalescence have turned all those enchantments into creatures. At which point those enchantments will beat up a Chroma.
Yeah, and
So
they'll just exile a Chroma permanently.
yeah, and you'll
So
just wave a Chroma out with the parallax wave. So I'm not. Yeah, I think game one Kai is definitely in an uphill battle. Okay. Oh, we're casting some back to basics. Woof.
All right.
All right, never mind. We get wow, that's a beating.
Yeah, I actually
Okay.
have to look at Moss's list to see. He does have 3 basic planes.
All right, and there's a bit,
So
but yeah, we just like double stone rained Masa and Kai's non-basic undiscovered paradise. I believe is going to bounce back to his hand. So this back to basics is just a big free roll. So that's this we're playing some Magic.
yeah, so that'll definitely buy him a lot of time. And then I like the cards like I think he really wants to find like with this time are probably. I mean, he has an Armageddon, so Armageddon would buy him even more time.
Okay, yeah,
um,
Armageddon beats a lot of
uh,
things.
and he also has an Aura Silence, which is good against the plan of Masa just playing out his enchantments, which sometimes the deck has to do.
Okay.
And then he has the one Graveyard Hate piece. So like I think those are the things that he most wants. I think there's a Zer's Weirding in his deck. I don't even remember exactly what that card does. It does
Oh,
weird
so
stuff.
Zer's Weirding, that card is incredible. Okay, so that is a real thing. You play Zer's Weirding, it's this 4-mana enchantment, and both players reveal their hands, and then whenever either player, because it's symmetric like the old cards, whenever either player would draw, the other player can pay 2 life and stop them from drawing, and that card will just go into the graveyard. So if Kai successfully gets like Ivory Tower plus Zer's Weirding, something like that, then he can just gain life every turn off the tower and then stop Masa from ever drawing any cards and put him in the hard lock that way. So Kai does have some interesting alternate paths to victory because the Oath path is clearly not very exciting against your opponent's like no creature deck.
Yeah. He does have a way to force the Oath to trigger, I think. Is he playing oh maybe not. I thought the Argiven Vines were the card that like Funeral Pyre, but I don't think he's playing any Funeral Pyres.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like there's no Funeral Pyre. So the Oaths are actually, not going to be doing anything at all. And we did see, so we saw Masa just there flashback a deep analysis and draw a couple cards. He hit his land drop return. And he did flash his graveyard. There is a decree of the blue decree. What's it called? Decree of
silence. And so
okay.
you can cycle it to counter a spell, or if you put the decree of silence just like into play, it has 3 charge counters on it, and you can remove charge counters to counter spells. So countering the next 3 relevant spells from your opponent is pretty strong.
Yeah, I think it's forced to counter the next 3 spells. I don't think you have the option.
Oh, you don't get to choose? All right. So your opponent could just walk some garbage into it, I suppose. But that's still pretty strong. But it costs like 8 mana, so you're almost like never doing that.
Yeah, you're just replenishing it back. It's definitely like a spice card that I think is just like a pet card for him because it's not usually in these decks. But I have played against him where he like on turn 3 just like got only that back. And then just bought himself infinite amount of time. So.
All right. So Kai just discarded a bunch of lands because of the land tax. Just is fine with that. So, all right. Oh. Okay, we're playing City of Traders. All right, so we're just gonna put the decree into play, I guess. Yes, we're replenishing, and we're gonna get back a a decree of silence and anything else.
I think there's 2 parallax waves that I saw. I'm not sure if there's anything else.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is just like going to happen. All right. So you get these parallax waves. Not. And an opalescence. Right. Never mind. Okay, we have.
He's got it all. Never mind.
Yeah. All right. We haven't been paying attention. So opalescence turns all the enchantments into creatures with the power and toughness equal to their converted mana cost. So we've got 12, 14, I think like 22 power worth of creatures just showed up. And
the next 3 spells will be countered.
And also anything Kai casts will be countered by the decree of silence. So, and if Kai did have creatures, they would be removed from the game by the parallax wave. Wrath. Okay. Kai appears to be, Masa appears to be doing something. What's up?
He's exiling his enchantments. He's turned Kai's enchantments into creatures. He can now exile them with Parallax Wave. Okay. He can also exile his own Parallax Wave. to exile Kai's enchantments permanently and reset the counters on Parallax Wave. There's a lot of like
Oh,
weird
yeah,
tricks with this
yeah.
Opalescence deck. So if you want to exile something permanently, you can put triggers on the stack from the Parallax Wave, and then put a trigger on the stack targeting the Parallax Wave to exile the Parallax Wave, and it will exile the Parallax Wave, which will then bring itself back because it has left play. And then the other two triggers will resolve permanently exiling the enchantments, and that's what Masa just did.
Yeah. Now, so nowadays, they template cards differently, so you can't do this. They say until this leaves play, which prevents this. But in the old days, they'd say when this enters play, do X. When this leaves play, do Y. And as a result, you can manipulate the triggers in such a way to just exile something forever. Whereas, like with the modern card, like Banisher Priest, just says until Banisher Priest leaves play, which prevents this sort of interaction. All right, Kai's making the mistake of playing spells when this decree of silence is in play, and Masa is saying, "No, you cannot do that." No, okay, I think we're just walking spells into the decree to like clear out these charge counters.
I'm trying to see what Kai could even be setting up for. Like, what can he accomplish by clearing the decree of silence?
Is unclear, but I'm very curious to see what the plan is myself.
He does have a humility, I think, and I actually have no idea what happens. If
oh God, no. Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. If we have humility and opalescence, that's definitely a judge question, and it's really confusing. Yeah, it's really, really confusing, and I hope we figure it out. I hope that doesn't happen, because you'll see us all like doing a bunch of Google searches. In fact, I'm just gonna start this Google search right now. MPG humility opal. Oh, that pops right up. This is from 2015.
Yeah, probably still good.
Yeah, I mean, if explained, okay, it's on the.
I hear my Discord pinging. Maybe someone is explaining how it works. Yeah, actually, someone pointed out that Masa could reset the decree
with the waves.
With the waves, he didn't do that though. Interestingly.
Oh, huh. All right, so we're getting to cast spells, and we're casting Guy's Blessing. Okay, sure. So we're gonna put some stuff back into our library, but yeah, Masa still has 14 power with the creatures running around. So Kai really needs.
I think it's just 10 because the opalescence doesn't turn itself on.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay, okay, that's more manageable. Though also somewhat frustrating, because I thought an out would just be to Swords to Plowshares the opalescence, but apparently you can't do that, so you're still just getting beat up by these creatures.
Yeah, you need them to put a second opalescence in play. But then with the Parallax Wave, if you have that, the Parallax Wave can just like temporarily remove it. So you can't ever actually accomplish that.
Just can't get there. Just can't get there. So
it's really hard to interact with this deck when it has its enchantments in play, because they just like blink themselves out.
Yeah. So let's see. We'll also like forget to attack with his creatures. That seems unlikely. but I've played to other outs before. No, Must have still. Wait, we're playing another opalescence? It's happening. All right. Well, I mean, that means now we do have 14 power with the creatures.
Yeah.
and yeah, because we can just protect our creatures with the wave. This is kind of risk-free.
I'm a little confused about the not blinking the Decree of Silence. Like, I mean, Masa's like very masterful with this deck, so I would be surprised if he missed that. I wonder if I'm missing something, but
yeah, I feel like we'd have to go read all these cards that are 15 years old and make sure we understood what was going on. And I don't think that he would let something slide like that. All right. Oh, so we do have a plow. Doesn't really matter. We'll target something, and we will wave something out. So as a result, maybe we could take 4 less damage on this attack. That's meaningful. Oh man, yeah.
think Kai's probably trying to understand what exactly is happening.
I feel you, Kai. We're all kind of there right now. I'm just gonna assume that it's not gonna work out. Yeah, okay. There we go. So we waved out the other opalescence, and then we rumbled in for 10 damage. So only 10 damage.
I don't think it changes the clock much.
No, it is lethal. Need Wrath. Maybe. Does Wrath do anything? No, we just wave out the opalescences under the wave, and then they have no creatures anymore.
Correct.
And then the opalescence comes back. So nothing really matters anymore.
Yeah. You see Masa just resetting his counters to 5. He's just like doing the blink thing that we talked about earlier to reset his
Yeah.
counters.
All right. Just all right. Yeah, we'll do some more game actions. Let's play this Mox Diamond. Why not? We don't need another City of Traders.
Yeah, Mox Diamond is another choice that Masa has in his deck that's a little unusual for Replenish decks, at least in the pre-modern world. You don't usually see Mox Diamond in the deck. Masa likes to play this deck very aggressively.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. So we've also, anyway, Kai's seen enough. We're like, none of my cards do anything. all these creatures running around. So quick game to Masa. I didn't realize that he had so much stuff in his graveyard there. I guess he triggered the attunement once and the strategic planning. Yeah. Attunement and Replenish is pretty classic. For those who don't remember, Attunement is a blue enchantment that you can bounce to your hand, and you draw 3 cards and discard 4, which sounds terrible, except when you're bringing all the cards you discard back, in which case it's incredible, which is exactly what's going on here.
So post board, I think this match will get a lot closer. So Kai has a number of cards that are useful to bring in. Including one of my favorite cards in the format, Meddling Mage.
That card's the best.
He's got 3 copies of Meddling Mage, which is really good because you can name Replenish, and that usually buys you time. You force him to actually hard cast a Parallax Wave to remove the Meddling Mage before he can cast Replenish. And then if you can play 2 Meddling Mages, then you can actually probably lock him out. I'd have to look at Masa's sideboard to see if
there's got to be a seal of removal or something in his deck.
Oh yeah, there are seal removals in the sideboard.
Yeah, so Masa's not going to be colded by that. At this point, I'm just going to drop some knowledge. We have upcoming the invitational. People who have won these middle school events or people who have won vintage events as part of our play group are going to be at the invitational this weekend, which will also be streamed. And the invitational is open deck list. And this ties into our conversation because I think anyone who's playing Meddling Mage, I think people should be playing Meddling Mage at the Invitational. Open deck list plus Meddling Mage in a small field sounds like a great idea. So just think about that when you're deciding what middle school deck to play. Andrew and I are both qualified. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start tapping some blue and white mana when we get there.
I mean, I'm pretty confident that you're going to be tapping blue and white mana regardless of the open or closed deck list or the format.
Yeah, you might be onto something with that. I just don't know how to quit you, Azorius Mana.
Yeah, and then the event is this weekend, and I think we will be streaming it, so that'll be if you guys want to tune back in on Saturday to watch some combination of vintage and middle school. Should be a good time.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy. I haven't really. I've watched a lot of Magic, though clearly not middle school because nobody plays that. But
you can watch us play it.
Yeah, basically that's it. I watch when I'm doing commentary. But I'm pretty excited. I'll be in town to play some Magic. And vintage is fun. I think that format is actually pretty great. So
yeah, I haven't played vintage in a long time. The last time I played was the last time I played you in the finals, Woodrow. So
Yeah.
and I haven't watched any vintage either until this week. I decided I better figure out what vintage is. So I've like spent like the last 4 days trying to play vintage at night on Magic Online. So
Alright. Yeah, I know that some of the players like will have these cards that use this mechanic called the initiative. If that comes up, I'm just gonna believe them. Like I was like, sure, that's what it does. Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good.
yeah, yeah. I was like, I learned about those cards about 4 days ago, and I was like, oh well, I might try this out, and I went to try to get them on Magic Online, and they are impossible to get on Magic Online because they like no one opens those packs on Magic Online. So or they maybe those packs don't even exist. I don't know, um, but I wasn't going to pay like $400 to get some hill giants. So that
Yeah.
had the initiative on them.
Yeah, the same thing happened with regards to this really great sideboard card for Legacy, Maddening Hex. That card did not exist on Magic Online for a long time, but did exist in paper. And so when I first encountered this card, I was shocked. I was like, "What is this? This card is insane!" But it just like didn't exist in Magic Online because so I just never seen it before, and I was like, "This card is the best," you know. So you had to go hunt down this card from like a D&D set or something. Uh,
Yeah, I'm looking at the sideboards. I'm actually curious. Like, I wonder how Moss's sideboard is. Like, I feel like it's probably a very light touch. Like maybe he brings in a seal of removal or two to counter the meddling mages.
I feel like you have to. Like, Meddling Mage is so good against your deck, which is kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
You definitely have to bring in extra answers for it. Uh, Other than that, yeah, same deal. When your deck is very linear like this, the more you sideboard, the worse your deck becomes. So
there's
yeah.
the seal of removal. So
All right. Yeah, yeah. Prepared. So that's a big deal.
um, Kai potentially looking up what seal of removal does.
Bounce a
And
dude. Unsummon.
Kai does have like one Tormod's Crypt in his sideboard as some additional graveyard hate. And I know Masa has True Believer in his sideboard to like stop cards like Tormod's Crypt.
Wow. Oh, True Believer also stops Oath of Druids.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it does target players.
Yeah. Learn
I
that
have
in
a feeling
Vintage.
that Kai boarded out Oath of Druids.
Yeah, what does this card do? Nothing. All right, land tax, sure. Land tax plus uh Undiscovered Paradise, classic combo.
Yeah, the Replenish deck does play 4 Seal of Cleansing's main deck, which is kind of annoying for Kai. Since his deck is like
Wow,
completely
yeah.
based around enchantments. Because Seal of Cleansing is like another way to do some tricks with the deck, like because you can, the same deal, put a bunch of triggers on the stack and then
And
destroy
then
your own parallax thing to permanently
right.
exile lands or creatures.
Right. So yeah, we haven't seen Parallax Tide yet. But Parallax Tide is like Parallax Wave, where you remove these counters and you exile these lands. But with you have the same deal with the Tide, you can remove the counters and put the ability to exile the lands on the stack. And then if you somehow blow up or remove your own Parallax Tide, first the return the lands ability will trigger. No lands have been removed yet, and then the Parallax Tide will leave play, and then the re-exile the land ability will trigger. So you can just exile like 4 or 5 of your opponent's lands forever with Parallax Tide, which is, of course, is fun and people really enjoy playing Magic when they have no lands. you know,
But I don't know, like this era of Magic was full of like kind of mean things like that you could do that are like weird tricks with the cards. So
yeah, these are clearly not how the cards were intended to function, but
right,
just due to some weird timing rules, they ended up that way. So in this case, I know we're these old school players who like to razz on the new templating. I think that in this case, the until it leaves play and still when leaves play, because until leaves play prevents these sorts of shenanigans is more intuitive.
yeah, I
um,
think
and it
for
doesn't
sure.
open people up to like getting randomly blown out the first time they play against these sorts of cards and not understanding that they're just going to lose their permanence forever.
Yeah, and it is really messy. Like I mean, even experienced players, I feel like when they play against this deck, and unless they played against it very recently, you have to really like walk them through carefully what's going on, because it is a complicated interaction.
Okay, Sterling Grove.
What can we get with that? It only gets enchantments, right? Not artifacts.
Yeah, only enchantments. You can't go get artifacts. That'd be pretty busted.
Yeah, so we can go get like Aura Silence or
Okay.
Humility if we just want to. You know, he just wants to troll us.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not seeing much that's terribly exciting, but maybe there's something we're missing. Okay. We're playing Attunement, I assume. What do we got? No, Frantic Search. Okay. This card is pretty busted. Draw 2, discard 2, and untap 3 lands. It's even in its most fair use case, spells that are free are stupid. Like, there's just no two ways about it. Okay, if you're not paying mana for your spells, then the game of Magic quits making sense. So Frantic Search is already dumb. Like, we shouldn't get these free effects. And then if your lands are somehow tapping for more than 1 mana, like you have City of Traders, or if you have like a High Tide, then you can be generating mana with this effect. So this card is banned in a lot of formats because it's stupid. You know,
Yeah.
there just shouldn't be free spells.
It's really impressive how that cycle from Urza Saga, like pretty much all of those cards got banned in some format. Like even Peregrine Drake got banned in Pauper, which is like a 5-mana 2/3 flyer.
Yeah,
it's like a 5-mana 2/3 flyer but it untaps the lands when it comes in, and even that card got banned in a format. So just
all right. Well, speaking of free spells, we're seeing why free spells are dumb right now. Okay, because Masa got to like do all these game actions and discard all these spells, and then he's like, "Well, now I'm just going to play this Replenish here on turn 3 and just get out all these goodies." So there's no. I think things are looking kind of bad for Kai's lands here. So we've got the Parallax Tide, so we can just start waving out some lands. And if we had wanted, we could have blown up the Tide, but basically just Stone Raining for a couple of turns is probably gonna be pretty good. There's no Opalescence, so we're not clocking out Kai. Right. But Kai's just like not gonna be doing anything for a while.
Yeah, and it's possible that he does have like an Opalescence in hand and is going to play it next turn.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, then we'd have the Parallax Wave plus a bunch of weird interactions that would be awful. Okay, they'd be bad for Kai. You know.
Yeah. Because like he only got to discard 2 cards, so like if you have those 3 cards in your hand, the one you keep is in hand is probably the Opalescence. So we'll see if he has it. If so, I think the game is over.
Yeah. I mean, this play heavily indicates that there's one more piece of the puzzle to go here. But it just mentioned it's people really enjoy playing Magic without lands, and so Kai's just gonna hang out and move to discard and discard some lands because he got so many lands from the land tax. And ironic turn of events where your lands are being blown up and you're discarding lands.
All right. Let's see if we're going to keep playing Magic here.
Yeah, or did we just, all right, we're tapping mana, so we've got something.
It looks like he's looking for it. If he's tapping 2 mana.
We're just digging with strategic planning. Love it. So we don't have the Opalescence. We get to hang out for another couple of turns. And if Masa just bricks off, then Kai will get his lands back, and the game will resume.
Yeah. Masa discarding a couple of lands.
All right, both players, putting lands into the graveyard.
He has got another land.
Sure, why not?
Oh, Masa's going to go ahead and exile that last land. I guess he just really wants to time walk Kai a couple times here while he looks for his way to win the game.
All right. The last card in Masa's hand is another Replenish.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
That seems likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we can just going to burn your counters like that.
Yeah, we just wave all this stuff out. We lose our things, and then we just replenish them back. That is fine. That's my take on the situation. How many players do we have for the Invitational on Saturday? Do we know?
I'm not sure if it's 10 or 12.
10 or 12? Okay, sure, whatever.
It's one of those. I think it's 10. I think last year we had 12 because it was like 2 years worth of events. But they didn't have some events during that period.
What a horrible end to that tournament. It stings.
Woodrow and I played in the finals of the last Invitational, and I got him, but I think he possibly could have won that game.
I could have won game 2. When you have Demonic Tutor in your deck, it's easy to make mistakes, and I did in fact make a mistake. Game 1 was like unwinnable.
One of my friends showed me a deck list, and it had Demonic Tutor in it, but it was just like a fair bug deck.
Boo.
And like all I could think was like how disappointing casting Demonic Tutor would be in that deck.
Yeah. I want Demonic Tutor for Ancestral Recall to be like my weakest Demonic Tutor target, not
right. Yeah, I want Demonic Tutor for Tinker like most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like my Demonic Tutor is getting like Yogwill or Tinker, and the game will just be over. Okay, so Kai's lands are coming back. The Parallax Tide ran out of gas. We haven't found an Opalescence, so really all we did was kind of fog the game for a while. So yeah, maybe if we have another Replenish, then we can just replenish back the Tide and like Armageddon Kai out of the game. But if we don't, then yeah, we're just kind of not doing much. But we're reaching for some mana, so all right. Masa being cognizant of. All right, so yeah, we're just gonna blow up all of Kai's lands. We're gonna put the ability to remove 5 lands onto the stack, and then we respond to that ability with the Seal of Cleansing and blow up the Parallax Tide. And Kai just won't have lands because, that's great. That's great. Yeah, you don't need those. All right.
We might be running into a case that rarely happens with a land tax deck, but the number of lands in your deck that are searchable might become relevant here. I think like usually the minimum is you play like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think Kai has 9.
All right.
And
so right now
7 and 6 in the graveyard.
All right. What would it's not in Kai's deck, but let me see. I'm trying to think of like sweet cards that Kai could potentially have had at this point in time. So if Kai were anticipating this sequence of events, he could have ported in Sky Shroud Blessing and stopped this, which is a plane shift green instant. All lands gain Shroud until end of turn. Draw a card. Sadly, Kai is not playing Sky Shroud Blessing because no one anticipated Parallax Tide and exile your lands. So that's it. 5 lands have just been like removed from the game.
Yeah, I mean, Kai might have some time here still.
Yeah. It's not clear. So if we go we can't even cast Tormod's Crypt because the Aura of Silence is putting this double sphere effect on artifacts and enchantments. But yeah, if the Aura weren't in play, Crypt could buy like a lot of time. Yeah, so basically nothing we can get with Enlightened Tutor is going to be relevant for 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably still get Tormod's Crypt because you have 2 lands in hand, so you. It's a little weird to me to cast the Enlightened Tutor now. I mean, like you can play a land and cast it next turn, but.
Yeah. All right. So now, like 4 turns from now, we can play this Disenchant.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So the fact that we're casting Enlightened Tutor indicates we will not be triggering the land tax,
right?
Because that would be silly.
I think it's probable that Kai already has all the basics in his hand.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we pass. We draw a card we can't cast. We play some basic out of our hand. Oh, we play. I don't know about Undiscovered Paradise. Might have been tempted to play a different land.
Yeah, that's strange to me, but yeah, guess we'll see. I
All
wonder if
right.
Kai forgot about the tax on Aura of Silence when he cast that tutor.
That is distinctly possible. Aura of Silence is a strange card. I think it says, yeah, all opponents, artifacts, and enchantments cost 2 more. And then it also has a seal of cleansing clause where you can sacrifice it to blow up an artifact or enchantment. Um, so it's definitely a really sweet card. I wish it didn't have that double white in the cost, and then I could play it in more decks.
I think it's probably good that it has a double white in the cost. I don't think we need more
Probably.
decks playing it.
Yeah, that double white is pretty painful. You can't just like put it into your random deck. You have to make a steep commitment to this pesky plains mana.
Yeah, these effects are really strong in this format. Enchantments are the most powerful permanents in this format. There's Oath of Druid, Survival of the Fittest, land tax. There's just a lot of very powerful artifacts and enchantments in this format, and so
Yeah,
Seal of Cleansing and Aura of Silence are quite good.
yeah. So in this format, it predates planeswalkers. So before planeswalkers, the like obnoxious permanent that would show up and alter the course of the game would be an artifact or enchantment. And unlike planeswalkers, you can't even attack them down. They just show up and are extremely difficult to interact with.
For the most part, they don't create incremental value every turn and snowball like a planeswalker, but
Yeah.
sometimes they
Wait.
do stop the
You know,
game.
where
The
did Kai's
survival of
lands
the
go?
fittest.
I feel like something like that just happened.
Well, they just abruptly end the game sometimes.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, yeah,
Sarah
survival of the fittest
Sanctum.
definitely generates like incremental value every turn. All right, so we're trying to cast something. Do not believe
I
we can
don't think
cast
that's
that
enough
card
mana for
because of
that.
the aura. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Kai's forgotten about the aura. We need
yeah.
1 more mana to do that. Yeah.
I like he played the Sarah Sanctum, and I thought for a second that that is why he tutored. But no, the math still doesn't work for me.
All right, so we're gonna play. Maybe we just got the crypt. What do we got?
Gonna
Mox
play a two
Diamond.
mana
Okay.
Mox Diamond.
Okay. Yeah, Mox Diamond plus land tax. That's a thing. Uh, I
I
will
would have much
mention,
rather discard the Undiscovered Paradise than that Plains, but
yeah, I think I would be inclined to agree with you on that one. The mana in this format is not great. Those of us who have become coddled by modern design, where every standard block has like a new set of dual lands, that's not what's going on here. If you're like allied colored, you have like pain lands and you have some weird filter lands. Um, but as a result, cards like Mox Diamond and Undiscovered Paradise are extremely good in this format because it's very difficult to make your mana work otherwise. It's also extremely difficult to make your mana work when your opponent keeps blowing up your lands. So it kind of doesn't matter. Maybe Kai knew that the Undiscovered Paradise was just going to get blown up, so he's like, I'll just play it out there.
yeah.
All right.
These are not permanently gone though. These will
Yeah, these
probably
will come
recoming back at
back.
some point.
But you know,
Moss is clearly waiting for Opalescence.
yeah, or
I'm
another
actually kind of
replenish.
curious if he's sandbagging a Replenish.
Yeah,
I think
because he's
that's
got
distinctly possible.
yeah, Kai's not doing anything. We don't
Yeah.
Masa is under no obligation to make moves. Can wait to make the next replenish or opalescence as powerful as possible. Hmm. Kai probably looking up Aura of Silence. Like, wait a minute, what's that card do? All right, another Parallax Wave, which is kind of weird because there's no creatures in play, so nobody really cares about Parallax Wave.
Right. Yeah. It's only good if he draws Opalescence.
Yeah, by playing it out, it'll have haste when the opalescence shows up. So that's not nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
It also doesn't really hurt him to play it out.
No,
Because
not at
like if
all.
it just ends up in the graveyard, that's probably okay too.
Yep.
I think it does have to have legal targets to remove the counters. Like if you wanted it to go to the graveyard.
Right. Yeah, you can't just like remove counters for no reason. Like you can remove a counter targeting one creature and then respond by removing the counter and targeting the same creature. But if there's no creatures in play, then you can't just throw it into the graveyard for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you have cards like Frantic Search is a reason to keep cards in your hand. But
true. And because we have the seal of removal, it's even if Kai were to randomly, drop a meddling mage on the table, we've got that covered.
Right. Meddling Mage is one of the few spells in his deck he can cast right now.
Yeah. When your deck is like all artifacts and enchantments, double Sphere of Resistance is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Especially when 5 of your lands got exiled permanently.
Man, what a good sport! What a good sport.
I mean, weirdly, like I don't think he's out of this game. If like Masa just has air, like he's gonna get back a Serra Sanctum, which makes 2 mana.
All right, yeah. If Masa has just stone nothing, then
no, he's got Replenish.
All right, well, there's no reason for us to blow up our own enchantments unless we have Replenish. So, all right, yeah. How'd that get there? Replenish.
Yeah. So he's gonna exile these 4 lands forever, also because he's got.
Yeah, and he might blow up the Mox Diamond for good measure, just to send a message. So instead of last game where Masa got the turbo draw where he made like 14 power with the creatures with opalescence, this time Masa's kind of putting his opponent in the chokehold where he's just blowing up all his lands over and over again. And usually the blow up my opponent's lands when my opponent's land tax in play doesn't work, but it's really coming together this time.
Yes, it is.
All right, yeah, should have packed that Sky Shroud Blessing, Kai. What happened?
There's also isn't there one that gives your land Shroud, like an enchantment, or is that not? Maybe that's from a later set.
I'm sure that there is, but yeah, Sky Shroud Blessing, all lands gate Shroud, draw a card. If we had Teferi's Response, we could stop this with Teferi's Response.
You can only stop one of the counters with that, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the way this effect works, I'll have to read it because Moss has to retain priority and do it all at once. Teferi's Response might work. But that's strictly hypothetical because that's clearly not happening. So,
right. I mean, even if you do that, like he had 3 Parallax Tides in play, he could have just reset with another one. Yeah. Well, I guess if you wait till the seal's on the stack, then he would have to sack his Aura Silence, which is valuable to you. But
yeah, that's meaningful. All right,
these hypothetical situations with cards that are not in his deck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to think of something to talk about since one of the players can't play any Magic right now. We're like, well, if he had some dark rituals and a Necro and Yagmoth's Will, he probably still couldn't win the game. So. Yeah, I mean, even if his deck was like a vintage deck with a bunch of Moxen, he couldn't win because of the Aura of Silence.
Right, yeah.
All right.
He does have
hard casting deep analysis.
That's legal in this format.
All right. Nothing's better than sorcery speed inspiration, draw 2 cards. Masa's making some powerful plays over here.
I actually really like deep analysis in this format. The one of the best cards in this format, I think, is Cabal Therapy, and like Duress is also very good. And I feel like deep analysis is really good against that.
Definitely true. Yeah, no doubts there. Yeah, same deal. We've got the Invitational coming up. It's open deck list. Cards like Cabal Therapy get a lot better.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to print many more cards like Meddling Mage and Cabal Therapy because they're not very new player friendly. But I love those cards. I think
those cards are great. Especially Cabal Therapy because there's like all sorts of mind games and bluffs. With Meddling Mage, if you know your opponent's deck list, it's pretty clear what's going on. But in Cabal Therapy, it's much more situational.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that card is just really excellent. Though I played the extended format where Cabal Therapy was legal and Brainstorm was not legal, and it really messed up deck building. You started building your deck with all three ofs because having duplicates in your hand was such a blowout, and Cabal Therapy was just like so ubiquitous. So hands that would be normally insane became incredible liabilities. So unless you're playing like mono red aggro, if you're playing any sort of mid range control deck, you would just like build your deck with all three ofs.
Interesting. Yeah. The yeah, I mean, I love like Cabal Therapy. I do think is like more interesting than Meddling Mage because you're often just naming the card that you care about, like not knowing that it's there or not. And so, like, even if you miss, you still won, right? You just found out that the
Yeah,
card
coast is clear.
is not there. Yeah. Lawson's doing a bunch of stuff, looking for
Yeah.
cards.
Looking for opalescence.
Yeah.
This could be really awkward if he casts like 2 replenishes and just like can't find opalescence and all his parallax waves wave out. But if we just find like 1 opalescence, then we're
All
looking.
right. He just put an opalescence into the graveyard, so he either just put another one into his hand or replenish into his hand.
Suspicious. All right, now we're playing Ancient Tomb. Something's happening.
Kai patiently awaiting his death.
Yeah. Please make it stop.
I also see that Kai discarded an Armageddon, like which just feels like karmic justice. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, really? Blowing up plans, eh? All right. Well, okay. Is Masa just like massively slow rolling us by like putting down the 4th mana, tapping all his mana, and being like, "Oh, pass. Never mind."
I think maybe they're discussing whether he already played a land. That's my guess.
Okay. Yeah. On turns, so this totally happens. On turns when you draw a bunch of cards, it's easy to forget whether you played a land yet, because it's very easy to get in the pattern. If I've drawn, I play a land, I take some actions, and I pass. But if you draw like a whole bunch of times in the turn, you're like, wait, did I or didn't I? So that definitely happens. That being said, I don't think it really matters, and neither does Kai. Masa flashes the replenish, and Kai's like, I can't stop that. So I'm just dead.
Yeah, I saw Kai waving his hand. It's like, just if you have replenish, it doesn't matter. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
So, and he showed the replenish, and I think the game is over. So.
Yeah, I had a situation like that. I got to play against Mahara, and his English is he speaks Japanese primarily, and his English was not the best. And I don't speak, my Japanese is obviously garbage. And we got into a life total dispute, and we we're trying to figure it out. And in the end, I waved it off because I had this card in my deck that reset my life total to 20. So I was like, I'll just play this angel that puts my life total back to 20 and in this discussion. And he chuckled, and then we moved on. And he beat me anyway because he's a Hall of Famer. So
I'm trying to understand what format it is where you got to play Resolute Archangel, and that was like viable to play in the format.
This was a standard format, and this was Pro Tour Cons of Tarkir, which was won by Thoughtseize plus Siege Rhino. But I, being me, showed up with blue-white control, and I played Resolute Archangel.
All right. Okay. Did not know that card was ever viable in anything other than Commander. So,
well, because Sphinx Revelation had just rotated out, so you needed a way to like gain life. Like we had dig through time to get card advantage, and so you had this card that both gained you life and was a win condition. It wasn't terrible because there are some decks that like the Siege Rhino deck. Once you had asserted control, they could potentially burn you out with Siege Rhinos. And then the Jeskai deck, same deal. You could assert control of the game, and then they top deck a Bolt and get you. That being said, my deck was obviously hot garbage, so I wouldn't recommend anyone had played that deck.
Sometimes you just got to play what you know.
Yeah, basically. It's like I made it to the Pro Tour. I'm playing blue-white control. Is it good? Doesn't matter. All right. So hopefully we can get our next match up here quickly. Masa, as we mentioned, is in Japan. So if we can get this next match up and done quickly, we can have the finals here. Uh, if not, things are a little dodgy. But let's see what we've got for us there. Let's see if we've got anything.
All right, we're going to take a quick break before the next match.
back.
Yeah, and
We're going to see some more middle school action, our other side of the bracket in the semifinals. For those of us who might have been confused by some very strange game actions or bored when one player's lands all got exiled and they didn't do anything, this is going to be totally different. We've got 2 decks with a bunch of creatures. Andrew, why don't you tell us about them?
Yeah, so we have basically 2 white weenie decks, but of pretty different varieties. So we have really like a classic like Tempest Urza's block white weenie, like shadow creatures, even Soul Warden, and Imperial Armors to swoop them up and just go the distance. He's got main deck Cataclysm and Disenchant and Swords as his interaction. Swords will be great. Cataclysm will be weird, but probably good given what his opponent's playing. And Disenchant probably not going to be very relevant in this matchup. Then the other side of the matchup, we have another white creature-based deck, but this one is Rebels. So this was definitely a standard all-star, and he's playing counter Rebels. And so this build actually has 4 counterspells, 4 absorbs, and 4 standstills. So his plan is like get on board first, and then lock the game down and just put Rebels in play with abilities. I'm not sure how easy that game plan is going to be to to do when your opponent is also going to get on board very quickly. But he also has 4 swords and 4 Mother of Runes, and there's not Mother of Runes in the other deck. I don't think.
The other deck doesn't have Mother of Runes? Did I miss that?
Maybe
no, it does. It's under the Soul Wardens.
It's under the Soul Wardens.
So never mind. There's not going to be any interactivity between Shadow and Mother of Runes. There will not be blocking that actually gets to work. Never. There will be creatures, but they'll just be running by each other. With Mother of Runes, being on the play is going to be really important. If your opponent gets to like untap with Mother Runes, you can just like never interact in combat or remove any of their creatures with Swords to Plowshares. I feel like we're both playing creature decks, so yeah, being on the play is important. And the counter Rebels plan doesn't really work. As we mentioned, it's very hard to like use Absorb, a 3 mana counter spell, to stop your opponent's 1 and 2 mana creatures. That's not really going to work out. It's hard to leave that mana up. So I feel like in game 1, the classic white weenie deck is going to be favored. It'll be hard for the counter Rebel deck to leverage some of these cards like Standstill and Counterspell. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, like, the Rebels plan is pretty grindy. And these shadow creatures are just going to run by while you like tap 3 mana to get a 1/1 flyer. I think I'd much rather be on the classic.
All right. Well, Counter Rebels is on the play, and they open with the best opening, Mother of Runes. So they're just going to instantly put the aggro deck to the test, and that test is passed. Mom gets plowed, just another night at the at Lagrange, and we pass. All right, so that's too bad. This is one of the situations where Standstill would have been good if the player had Standstill. They could have slammed it right there with their factory. But as it is now, Counter Rebels is being put to the test. Do they
have 2 plows?
Yeah, not so much. So yeah, soon we're just gonna be hit with the big F6 button on interactivity and just not being able to block or remove our opponent's creatures for the rest of the game. So yeah, that's great. That's excellent. For those of us who are not familiar with the Rebels mechanic, it's actually really, really awesome. Your creatures would have an activated ability, like 3 colorless, tap this creature, go looking through your deck and find a Rebel creature that costs 2 mana or less, and you'd put that creature into play. So it was both card advantage and actually putting it into play. But as you can tell, it was expensive. It would take some mana. So this ability is very threatening in long, grindy games. and it's very threatening against control decks because it means once any rebel is in play, the rebel player never needs to do anything. It's just like pull rebels out of their deck at the end of your turn at instant speed. But that's not really what this game is about. This game is about just getting to the board as quickly as possible. And Wasteland. Yeah, I would wasteland that a Darkar Waste and just be like, we just saw how effective it was to, blow up our opponent's lands in the last game. It's still going to work here. Mishra's Factory versus the World. That's asking a lot of our factory. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although, like, he attacked last turn, and Mother Roots does not protect from Mishra's Factory, so
that's
like,
true.
It seems like his plan is to try to race with this 3/3 factory.
Racing with factory. So yeah, if we don't, okay. Yeah,
Mom is attacking. That's interesting.
Yeah. Do we have anything? If we have something more to add to the board, we're okay. But we don't. That's very odd. Like, there's not a lot that our white weenie deck would be leaving up mana for.
He's only got one card left, I think. So I think he probably just has another land in his hand.
Okay. Well, maybe factory could just go the distance. Maybe we were wrong. We're supposed to wasteland the factory. We got a little greedy
maybe it's
there.
Cataclysm. Maybe it's Cataclysm, which would be great.
Yeah, Cataclysm. Just more blowing up lands. Like, I think that's the theme. Wow. Okay. In a show of confidence, we've got more power on board than our opponent. We're gonna play a standstill and force them to crack it. And
I think he's got the same amount of power.
No, he's got 4 versus 3.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And 5. Yeah, he's winning the race. If we just sit here and make no plays, the counter rebel player will win the race.
Yeah.
So this is when you're playing with standstill, you got to think about this sort of thing. What are we? When is my window? So it might seem very odd to play the standstill when you don't have any creatures and your opponent does, but the math checks out.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, Rob looks like he's in pretty good shape here. I'm curious what Phil has.
So going back 2 turns, should have wastelanded that factory.
Yeah.
We just got greedy.
I don't blame him. I probably also. Is he just a tithe?
Tithe. All right, so
one way to break them.
So tithe gets a plains, and if your opponent has more lands than you get 2 plains. This is putting a spell onto the stack, so the land still will be broken, and Robert's going to get to draw 3 cards. I have to say, I think 3 random cards off the top of my library is probably better than 2 basic plains, if I had to choose.
Yeah. Although I think Phil, Phil might just have been assessing that he doesn't have a choice. Like, he's going to have to break it sometime. Maybe might as well now. And maybe the last card is Cataclysm.
Cataclysm would fix this up. If Robert keeps tapping out to activate factories, it's very hard to leave up counterspell mana. And with his current mana, okay, now we actually can play counterspell. And we can't
now
leave
he's gonna
factory.
hold it up.
Yeah, so we're holding up counterspell. It's a pretty strong tell. Yep. 2 blue mana. Nothing to see here, citizens. Not to just leaving up this mana.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me that he chooses to play counterspell and absorb. Like, when I built counter rebels, I put mana leak because of the single blue requirement.
I'm inclined to agree. Like, we've got these factories in our deck, and absorb just costs a lot of mana. 3 mana is just a lot of mana. With factories in your deck, that's a steep requirement.
He did just wasteland the second blue source, so I think we are seeing the Cataclysm.
Yep, Cataclysm. Okay. Well, there are no Force of Wills in Robert's deck, so all right. Ooh.
Oh, that's interesting. You can animate and keep it. You get to pick one of each type and keep it.
Yeah. So I guess if we could have animated more, we could have kept more. We kept a creature, an artifact, and a land.
Wow.
If we'd had one more land, if I'm understanding how this works. So Robert's really committed to the race plan and leaves all the factories in play. Seems fine to me. Seems fine.
Yeah, I think he did have another mana. Like he had 3 open mana. I wonder if he just forgot that it was an artifact too.
Maybe.
I didn't know that that's how that works. I actually maybe just learned something.
Look that up. But yeah, you choose one of each.
All right. So Rob did just attack with the factory and then play the 1 mana rebel. Yeah, you can choose. You could keep
Yeah.
2 factories and a land potentially.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah, that's a new one. I haven't seen that come up before. Cataclysm is not a card that sees a ton of play, although I think it is pretty good in this context. But
Yeah, the only time I play against Cataclysm is in Legacy. I'm playing against Death and Taxes. That's the only time that comes up. All right,
do
rumbling
you often
in.
have Mistress Factories to? Hey, the disenchant was relevant. I forgot that there were
Oh
factory targets.
wow. Okay, so we get to stone rain this factory. And every turn we're coming in for 2 with our shadow beatdown creature. Another
Oh,
wasteland. All
another
right, the
wasteland.
beats are
Is that
over.
the 4th wasteland?
I feel like there's been a lot of lands blown up in our games.
Yeah. Man, this is so close. It's 5-7.
Yeah. The fact that we've got the shadow creature means that we're definitely winning on board, and the burden is on Robert to somehow answer the shadow creature. And the only way is plow because it can't be blocked, or hope that Phil accidentally walks a spell into an absorb and messes up the race. So if you're Phil,
Yeah.
don't play spells. And I think Phil has figured that out. Phil seems very content to just attack and pass.
It's like debating whether to even play a planes.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like, can this punish me?
yeah, ask your opponent, swords to plowshares or bust. That's
Right.
basically it.
He
Right.
could potentially cast a 1 mana spell and absorb his own spell.
Okay. Yeah, they could play their own Ramosian Sergeant, or we could pick up all of our cards and go to the next game.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. So this get that was a lot closer than we thought. The factories were super relevant, but this Cataclysm card definitely blows the game wide open. Random 4 mana white sorceries, wrecking the game again. But yeah, what do we got in the sideboard? Let's take a look here.
Yeah. Meddling Mages on Rob's side, I don't think are coming in this one.
Yeah.
But he does have 2
We
Wrath of Gods.
Okay, Wrath of God is definitely good, and actually Worship is good too. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess our
Really,
opponent probably
how
is
many
leaving the
plows can you
disenchants,
have? Yeah.
anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
like now that they know the Worship is there, maybe disenchant, and the disenchant's already kind of good against our deck because it blows up factory.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
Disenchant's like not my favorite. Like, I mean, just looking at the main deck, I would probably be inclined to take it out because Factory doesn't block your shadow creatures. But since it's open deck list and he sees the worships, I think he might have to keep
Yeah, like
them.
I think you have to leave in some just to hedge against like Worship getting Worship locked.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I definitely think Rob brings in the worships. Like, I mean, it's better than Absorb, right?
Yeah, I feel like Rob's got some cards that can definitely get cut. So interestingly, Rob has to leave in disenchants in his deck because hey, look, cursed scroll. Uh, this is a sideboard bomb. There's a bunch of like 2 toughness creatures running around. If the blue white deck tries to turtle up, we can just dome them out with curse scroll. It gives a lot of inevitability. I definitely am liking curse scroll. And I don't know, I didn't even understand what these soul wards are doing here. But I think Curse Scroll could definitely have a lot of potential.
Yeah, Curse Scroll seems great. Yeah, it does not. It gets around Mother of Runes, and
Ooh, that's
this
a
is
big
just
deal.
like Curse Scroll is just like such a blowout in these creature matchups like back in the day. I remember when I was like first started playing Standard, Curse Scroll was like a $20 card, which is like unheard of.
Yeah.
That's the most expensive card in
It was like in every deck. I think it got
Type
banned
2.
in like Tempest Block Constructed or something.
I think it did, yeah.
Every deck
Because
had Curse Scroll.
yeah, right.
Speaking of Tempest Block,
somehow I think like Recurring Nightmare and Survival of the Fittest were legal for a while, but
so yeah, having those two cards together is a problem, but you need a bigger selection of creatures
right,
for
good, yeah.
survival to be really dangerous.
And there was nothing to generate infinite value like Squee and Tempest Block.
Right. So I think it's much more reasonable there. Speaking of Tempest Block Constructed, the reason the shadow creatures are so good is because WotC thought shadow was a drawback. They're like, oh, they can't block, so we'll just undercost them all because no one would want to play shadow creatures otherwise. But it turns out, blocking, like who's doing that? Like you just want to attack. And so these decks showed up where like there was no blocking, and you would just like evasively try and punk at your opponent. So
it's funny that we described them as undercosted. We're clearly like too entrenched in this era of Magic.
Yeah,
like a 2-mana, 2-power unblockable creature would just be like in the garbage bin now.
Like, what is this? It only attacks and blocks. I mean, it only attacks. It doesn't draw cards when it attacks. What is this?
But yeah, I think the Wrath of Gods and the Worships might give Rob a little more game here. Although that game was pretty close, a lot closer than I thought it was going to be at the start. So
yeah, that game is tight. I definitely do feel that Rob is taking the control role for sure.
Yeah. I played Phil in the Swiss of this league, and I played Dream Hall's combo, and he played turn one Mother of Runes, and I had a turn 2 kill in my hand, and I was just like licking my chops and did not see the disenchant coming for free when I played my Dream Hall. I just cast this Meditate very aggressively, and he disenchanted my Dream Halls, and I just died. He played Imperial Armor and attacked me twice.
Oh no, Meditate has a drawback to go on.
All right, looks like they are finished sideboarding. We'll get started here pretty soon. But yeah, I don't think much else comes in. I guess there's a 4th plow. I guess he only has 3 plows.
Yeah, you definitely bring in the plow. Like your opponent's decks about creatures. Like you basically need plow, so you have more ways to not just get cold it out by turn 1 Mother of Runes.
Right. What do you take out? Maybe the Paladin and Vex, because they're just like really bad 3-mana creatures.
Ooh, yeah, like none of those abilities are relevant. But once again, I remember when Paladin and Vex, there was a standard format where that card was unbeatable.
Yeah. Well, because the only other deck was Sly, so
yeah.
And Hatred, maybe Hatred was a deck.
No, there's a standard format later where Paladin and Vex was like in 10th edition or something, and
really?
Umazau's Jit was in this format. So all the removal was red and black. So you'd put Umazau's Jit on your first striking Paladin and Vex that could not be removed by any of the removal in the format, and like that was it. That was the nut draw. Turn 3 Paladin and Vex, turn 4 Jit equip, and most decks just like die instantly.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, so we open on Island, which cannot cast any of our creatures. So all right. Yeah, we're playing
Expanse, or
no, we've got Island, Flooded Strand. So
Skycloud Expanse looks just like Flooded Strand to me for some reason.
It does, and I've had people, whenever I was playing, they'd be like, "You can't do that. You're taking mana burn." I'm like, "No, it's different." So we kept in Silver Knight, which is just 2/2 first strike in this matchup, but definitely beats a lot of other decks.
Yeah. It's cheaper than a 3-mana 2/2 first strike, which is
better than Paladin deck, so definitely leveling up on that one. Ooh, getting a second island. So
all right,
what does that say to me? Like, unless I'm countering the Silver Knight, what is going on? Are we? Yeah, I think we're countering Silver Knight.
I
Yeah.
do think I saw Phil Mulligan, so like it might just be
Mm,
perfectly content to trade 1-for-1 with anything he's got.
yeah. I mean, if we don't have the Wrath in our hand, we can't afford to fall too far behind. So, and Counterspell is a difficult card to leverage. So I would happily trade it off whenever I could. Oh, even better. Okay. So yeah, we are head on board. We play Standstill. Hopefully our opponent does not play Wasteland, and they don't. And now, yeah, the burden will be on our opponent, on Phil, to break the Standstill.
He does so right away with a
Yep.
2/2 shadow creature, 2/1 shadow creature.
Yeah. So when you're playing against Standstill, there's two schools of thought, and it's very conditional. You either immediately break Standstill, or you wait until your opponent gets up to 7 cards in hand, and you break Standstill and try and get them to discard a bunch of cards. um, but anything in between that, I find to be suspect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think when you're a beatdown deck, I'm inclined to just break it right away.
Yeah, like
And
making the
like
game.
there's there's no reason to let them like loot 3 times to find their Wrath of God.
Yeah, making the game like go long is not what you're about as the beatdown deck. So, it is conditional, but all right. Yep, there's that disenchant. We do not have double blue up, so we can't counter it. So yeah, factory down. All right. So yeah, the beatdown deck is staying on plan. Deliver the beats. So
I
now we need Plains Wrath of God or something suitably impressive, or we'll just lose the motley crew of creatures. And no, we're totally casting Wrath.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could not tap that mana fast enough.
It's interesting. Phil has like consistently just attacked with Mother of Runes, like not holding it back to block plows at all. And I he might just be thinking if you had plow, you would have plowed my Shadow Guy last turn.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, Robert has generated 2 3-for-1s. It should be time to assert ourselves and take control of
Right.
the game.
And there's
And we
Lin
will with
Civvy.
Lincivy. Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
start.
Lin Civy's ability taps, so he can't use her this turn. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, all the rebels were like tap, pay mana, activate, or something.
Yeah.
Lincivy, another card that was banned in his block constructed format.
Yeah. Lin Civy is much better than the other rebels in terms of efficiency. It just you tap X and get a creature with converted mana cost X or less. Whereas like all the others, you have to pay like 3 or 4 and get something
Yeah.
that costs less than that.
All right. So yeah, now we can just make some more trades. Anytime we're trading 1-for-1 at this point, I think Robert's pretty happy. He's generated a lot of advantage. All right. So yeah, we'll play some more shadow creatures. So that is relevant.
Yeah, I mean, Rob has used 2 plows and a wrath. Like, I mean, Phil's shadow creature, despite being way behind on cards, might. What is that?
5 mana,
Oh, is that the 3/3 flying rebel?
I guess. Bird Rebel guy.
Yeah,
Harvey Bird Rebel.
yeah.
Sure. But yeah, like Robert cannot race the way things are set up. So, Phil's plan is just to evasively punk Robert out.
Was this Cataclysm? That's
Ugh,
huge.
ugh, ugh. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, we just talked about generating a bunch of advantage. Robert's going to fire back and generate like a whole lot of advantage right now and kind of ice the board, which is unfortunate because Robert needed to play, had extra cards in hand and needed, mana to play those cards. It's something we've learned throughout these games that you need mana to play spells. So, yeah. Now we're right back to it.
They clearly haven't seen the Modern Horizon set yet. Playing mana
Yeah.
for spells is part of the
Yeah, that's
past.
for chumps. Have you been playing any modern? Because that Rakdos scam deck is pretty silly.
I played a little bit a few months ago, like one of the PTQ seasons. I played a couple times before Yorion was banned. I played with Yorion.
Yeah, get out of here, Sky Bird. No Sky Serpent. Nobody likes you. The whole companion mechanic, like what a train wreck.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like they nerfed it so significantly, and they still had to ban most of them.
Yeah. And it's still just like a problem. There was a hot second where the even companion Gyrudo was actually the best deck in Legacy. That format was dumb. Like everybody died on turn one. You either died on turn one to Gyrudo combo, or you like got locked out with a bunch of chalices and like spears or something. It was abysmal. um. All right. So yeah, how I don't know how big the Sky Sergeant is.
I think it's a 3-power.
Okay, so yeah, Robert is winning the race.
Yeah, I mean he just
Yeah.
had a bunch of lands in hand, and one of them was a factory, and I think that was enough to swing the
Yeah,
car.
yeah. All right, yeah, two power versus 5 power. We need to okay. Ooh,
Okay,
ooh,
that's
that's
got
a
to
big
get
deal.
countered. Yeah,
Yeah, if we don't have counterspell or plow or something, we are in danger. If we top deck another factory, we could pump our factory for leads. Oh, ladies and
wait,
gentlemen,
it's not lethal, right? Is it,
is
or he's
it?
at 6?
Yeah,
I
he's at
can't read.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
this is Xaxes if the Sky Sergeant is a
okay.
3/3. Wow. I'd just like to say,
Called it.
yeah, just try and keep up with me, folks. All right. Well, this is cool. We're going to go to game 3. We're going to see some, creatures attacking and blocking, some combat math. People might actually play spells. This is Magic more like Richard Garfield intended.
Yeah, that game was very swingy. Like I thought,
Yes.
I thought that Phil was way ahead, then Rob was way ahead, then Phil was way ahead, and then Rob won. So
Yeah. Yeah, that Cataclysm card is doing some heavy lifting. You just get blown out of nowhere. And also, what's great here is these matches are pretty quick, as opposed to our last match where one player was clearly winning but took several turns to actually close the door. Here, yeah, we swing out and there's not a lot of blocking because the creature's all shadow,
Shadow, yeah,
and things get decided pretty swiftly.
yeah, yeah. You said combat math, but I'm not sure that there's a lot of math. You just turn sideways.
Yeah, racing math, but yeah, like it's none of the creatures can block. You just always attack. Even with Mother Runes, you're like, there's no blocking. Attack.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and if you're Phil, you just still attack with Mother of Runes anyway. So.
Yeah, in the red zone, get him. So we saw that both players have disenchants in their deck because both players have like stupid artifacts and enchantments that you have got to look out for.
Yeah, I
Curse
wasn't
Scroll.
sure if Rob was gonna leave it, but I guess like he just has to respect Curse Scroll post board.
Yeah, I mean, look how close that game was. That being said, it is interesting to note that Curse Scroll and Cataclysm is kind of a nombo.
Yeah,
But I guess if you
I
just
think the
like,
concept is if you're casting Cataclysm, like it's ending the game most of the time. But
yeah, or you could just leave the Cataclysm in your hand and keep revealing it to Curse Scroll if you don't have to do anything. So,
yeah, any card's a combo with Curse Scroll as long
yeah,
as there's only one of
basically.
them.
So,
As long as there's only one.
yeah, it seems fine. Never mind. Just put it in the deck. I suspect, Rob had the standstills in the deck, was on the play. I wonder if there'll be some thought about sideboarding them
Taking them
out.
out.
I wonder if there might be some thought about sideboarding out the standstills and bringing in meddling mages and just naming Cataclysm because that card is such a problem,
Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. I mean, because the plows have a lot of targets, right? And so
Yeah.
there's a, like if you play Mother of Runes on one, he basically has to plow it. If you play Rebel on one, he's probably gonna plow it. Um, so like your meddling mages have a decent chance of
Yeah.
sticking
So
around.
and so we play Meddling Mage and we can name Cataclysm, or we could just start naming the shadow creatures because they're so problematic. Sultari Priest, get out. It's not irrelevant. Like, how do we
Yeah,
lose? Because we can't block. So we just name
yeah.
these like weird evasive creatures.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times you can name like you with meddling mage and with therapy. Sometimes like you make a tempo play with it and you name the spell that they could potentially play next turn.
Yeah, just
And so
time
like you
walk.
can sometimes you can time walk them just by naming their 2-drop. Now, obviously, Phil has a ton of 2-drops, so like you're gonna have to get a little lucky for that plan to work.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, the games that played out, there's been tight races. Maybe you just want more creatures.
yeah, no, I can definitely get on board with that. I mean, the standstills have been good for him though. It's like interesting.
Yeah, not
Uh,
how I would have anticipated, but he's always had the
yeah,
factory. Okay, there's like 3 factories
yeah,
in the deck, right? But he's always had like 2 factories, so then the
right,
standstill just looks incredible.
right. Yeah, it's surprising. Like he's got all these double blue spells, and then most of his deck is white, and he's still playing the factories. But I guess he has a lot of lands. He's probably on 24 lands.
Yeah. That's hard to do, you're just like kind of beat down deck, and then you're playing 24 lands and a bunch of counter spells. But on the flip side, you get to straddle and like board in Wrath of God in your beat down deck, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Rebels. I mean, I feel like Rebels can kind of get away with that because you like he only has something like 15 creatures. No,
Yeah,
probably not even that. Let's see.
yeah.
Well,
If you can force the game to go grindy, then your creatures can just go find more creatures. So it's not a
right,
bad plan.
right.
And then really what's great is that you're vectoring your creature deck back to the true blue-white archetype of control and playing wrath and removal and counter magic, which is great.
Yeah. Rob has had a lot of success with Rebels. He's top eighted, I think, 3 leagues with Rebels, and it's like a deck that I always think of as being sort of very fringe in this format, and he's consistently put up decent results with this deck. So
It's got a lot of ins, a lot of outs. Uh, I like it. Okay. That being said, we just talked about how great Robert's deck is. Phil is on the play. These games have all been pretty tight. I think just being on the play is going to give Phil the edge in game 3 here. I think that Phil will get ahead early and might like ice the board with Cataclysm or shut the door in some fashion. Maybe get the curve of Mother of Runes into some shadow creatures. I feel like that the advantage is to Phil just by virtue of being on the play.
yeah, definitely agree with that. I think, unfortunately for both of these players, the finals matchup is going to be rough for either of them.
Yes. They actually, Robert actually has a hard lot games 2 and 3. Robert could go Mother of Runes into Meddling Mage, which would be very difficult for Moss's deck
That's
to
true.
beat.
He does have 8 counter spells, which is very relevant in that matchup. The mono
Also,
white deck.
yeah. Actually, I think he's doing good because if he just plays a Rebel, he never has to tap out again. Um, on the flip side, the mono white creature deck is basically on Cataclysm as the only relevant card.
Yeah, he's got 2 Tormod scripts in the sideboard.
Yeah.
And Disenchant can be relevant. It just depends
Yeah,
on.
we saw where it really didn't do much in one of the games. We just waved the creatures around and just
Right.
could
Yeah.
never make any meaningful plays.
It's not relevant
Uh,
when Replenish gets cast usually. It's
yeah,
relevant
that's
when
not
they're
gonna.
casting their enchantments.
Okay, so we've got triple 1-drop. None of them are Savannah Lions,
Yeah.
but we've got all this protection from both damage and targeted removal. Um, so Robert's gonna need something to answer this mother pretty soon. Um, and these are just a bunch of 1/1s, so you can afford to take a little chip shot damage.
I think the life totals are wrong. I think he's at 22, right? Phil's at 22.
Yes. Phil should be at 22. And in fact, he might be like there's some dice off the screen that we can't see, and
Right.
maybe Robert hasn't updated the telephone. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if Rob has a rat though, I feel like he's probably feeling pretty good about
Yeah,
the
there's not
finals.
any protection in Phil's deck for Wrath. There's nothing he can do, to protect his little dudes from getting swept away. As it should be. As it should be. Creature players should fear Wrath. Hey!
Hey, Meddling Mage.
Man, Robert's like reading my notes or something. So what do we name? Cataclysm? Yes. Yeah. Get that card out of here. All right. And actually, Meddling Mage is pretty relevant because all of Bill's
All
creatures
these
are
creatures
1
are
1. So
1/1.
we've got this
Yeah.
2/2. And the land of 1/1s, the 2/2 is king. Grizzly Bear too strong.
Yeah. This is really not lining up well for Phil, it feels like. But
Yeah.
the Nomads
Yeah.
in core is interesting. I guess he has like a lot of pro red and black creatures in his deck, and the thought is like against a lot of decks he can just like throw all the red and black damage towards them. But
I guess. Honestly, every time I see Nomads in core, Sultari Priest is being named. Okay. So that's fine
okay.
too. Just name the evasive creature. We know we've locked up the board with our 2/2 being the wide body. um, uh, so yeah, that's fine. Yeah, what do we lose to? We lose to. Oh no, he's got
Well,
the other
sorry,
one. He's got the
Monk.
no. It's all gone wrong. I want to redo. Did I say Sultari Priest? I meant Mike. All right. So yeah, we get to block one, but we don't get to kill it because we've got the mother runes. So we get in for,
Yeah.
a chip shot of damage. Nothing interesting happens. Um
Pretty happy with this still as Rob. I mean,
yeah,
you're
Rob is
forcing
doing
your
okay. We've
opponent to
got
be
some time.
shields down against Plow too.
Okay. What are we doing? Oh, okay, we're casting another rebel and we're leaving up counterspell mana. Um odds are okay, Phil did miss the land drop, so Phil's hand is all spells. Uh, so this is an interesting spot if you're Phil. Do we continue to commit to the board, or do we fear Wrath, which could show up next turn?
The fact that he played a Rebel last turn to me is like a pretty strong signal that he doesn't have Wrath. But
Hmm.
like, why do you
If I
play
had
Rebel
Wrath,
on
I'd
turn
play the
two?
Rebel anyway. Um, it's kind of win-win. Like if Phil doesn't play any more creatures to the board, great, you're slowing down the bleeding. And if you Wrath away your own Rebel, and if Phil plays more creatures and you Wrath away your Rebel, that's also great. So I think I would have played it either way. All right, well, we don't have Wrath mana, but we do have a creature that can fight through the Mother Runes. Maybe, Phil didn't make a play. Maybe he's got that disenchant.
Yeah, it's possible. Because most of his spells could be cast for 2 mana. Now, I guess he could have a handful of Imperial
I'm
Archers
still
or
Tari
Cataclysms.
Priests.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Sultai Priest, yeah, sure.
Yeah, the melee mage is secretly like just the MVP. He's got like quad Sultari Priest in hand, just can't play them.
Oh, it's interesting. He's still going to attack. Oh, because he can always redirect the damage to
Yeah,
protected
like
creatures. Yeah.
he's okay. Yeah, we don't want to throw away our sergeant because we
Well,
can
but
use this.
he could activate the sergeant if he
Right,
wanted
right.
to.
I don't because we can like get whip quarter. Whip quarter. That card's good. I've had games where I gotten a Crumbit into play and then I would lose to whip quarter. So
One of my favorite memories from a cube draft is my opponent who goes like Mox show and tell Immercool, and I put in Gideon's Lawkeeper and won the game.
to tap it down. Emrakul gets tangled up and then Emrakul
the
flies. How does it even trip? I don't know.
the law was too strong for him,
Yeah.
Just,
Even Cthulhu tentacle monsters must obey the law. All right, yeah, whip quarter coming out strong. Okay, just get these 2/2s into play. Phil is not doing damage. Like we have the priest, so this chip shot damage is relevant. Uh, yeah, but the whip quarter is going to mess things up because we can use the whip quarter. Then we stop the whip quarter from working with the mother. Then we can't attack with our other creatures, and then our mother's tapped down, so we could get plowed. But it looks like we've got plow. Okay, yeah, get out of here, whip quarter. Nobody like you except me. I think you're great.
oh,
Oh
he's
no, we
actually
killed the
gonna.
sergeant.
Okay,
Okay,
that's interesting.
okay.
I guess the thought is you're gonna get more whip quarters, so.
Yeah, if we leave the sergeant in play, we'll just have the same situation next turn.
He must have drawn the plow that turn because, like,
Yeah,
if that was the
yeah,
plan, you would have plowed last turn.
yeah. Otherwise, there's no reason to wait to allow a value off the sergeant. We're gonna play another whip quarter. Can't think of anything else that goes to. Whoops. What's going on here? What's going? I mean, I don't want to tap the factory for mana. Like this factory is doing work. We're thinking about something.
Usually Rob chose not to activate the factory to block also. I guess he activated the
You activated the sergeant, yeah.
sergeant, yeah.
Ooh, we've got choices.
I didn't see the card he flashed.
It was it's some rebel. Yeah. I feel like next time Ramosian Sergeant gets played, we should have a song "Rebel Girl" by Bikini Kill. You know. All right. So we just passed.
Yeah.
Ooh, what does that even mean? That would not. Yeah, I don't know what to interpret that. We definitely want our white mana so we can activate the whip quarter. We can activate all our man lands. But our opponent has like 5 cards in hand and passes. That is very, very interesting. Yeah, so we just attack with the shadow creature. We'll try and tap it down with the whip quarter. We'll give it per white. So if we have the plow, we can plow the shadow creature now and stabilize. We do not have it. So we are on the clock. In 5 turns, we'll lose to the shadow creature. And we passed and didn't use our mana. So
maybe you just wanted to hold counterspell and whip quarter mana.
I guess, yeah.
Maybe he's just sitting on a wrath and was hoping Phil would commit more. I don't know.
Commit more. Like we're taking 2 a turn, so we're gonna have to do something. I think our ideal goal is to get up to 6 mana and then wrath and leave counterspell mana up. That could be that's worth doing.
Is that a fairy conclave at the bottom?
Yeah, he's got fairy conclave and factory. So wrathing and blowing up our creatures is fine because their lands are creatures. So we rumble in. All right, we make this attack. Okay, another meddling mage.
Like Kyle in the chat asked is shadow just bad horsemanship? I guess it's bad flying. It's just there's a lot more flying creatures. It is, I guess, in this context, bad horsemanship because
it has
really
to be
not any horsemanship creatures.
Yeah, it has to be Cataclysm because Phil has passed for several turns with the card in hand and has never hit 4 mana. So my Cataclysm sense would definitely be tingling in this situation. So yeah, that would be my call as well. And at this point,
what his plan is for the shadow creature, though.
His plan is to draw Swords of Plowshares. It's either Worship or Swords of Plowshares. Like, if we get Worship, then that'll work. We could also have Plow, and hope that works. And so, with Phil is staying on message. Nope, I want to attack with my shadow creatures. You cannot tangle them up with the whip quarter. All right, Robert, you have to do something. Tithe. Sure, pal. Get your mana.
Tithe is a lot better when you can get dual lands with it.
I mean, I think everything's better with dual lands, really.
Kind of like the mana being bad in this format, though. It's definitely a feature of this format.
It is. It forces you to make some decisions, like in a lot of other formats where you could just free roll in that 3rd color, or in Modern you can free roll in a 4th color. Here, that's a real. You have to fill your deck full of like Cities of Brass and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So you pay like a real cost. You can do it. Like you can. There's a bunch of 5-color lands. They just all have like really serious drawbacks.
Oh no, we can no longer attack with Meddling Mage because there's a 2/2 first strike on the board.
Oh no.
Oh, I would have countered that. If I had a counter spell in my hand, I would have been heavily inclined to counter the Silver Knight.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to race a shadow creature, right? Unless you just
Yeah.
already have
Okay.
the
Do we
plow or
have like
wrath.
worship? Can we do worship plus counter spell? What do we got going on here? Okay, we're playing some Rebel. Sure, Rebel Bird.
Yeah, that's not really what he wanted.
Yeah.
I think he really needs plow or wrath or
Actually,
worship.
wait. If we just search up another whip quarter, we're fine.
Are there more whip quarters, or does he have to get Lincivy and put the other one back in his deck?
No whip quarters have been destroyed. A Ramosian Sergeant got plowed.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, but we
there's
just
one
go
more.
tutor
There's one
up
more whip
another
quarter.
whip quarter, and then we can lock down the shadow creature.
Yeah.
And at that point, we're safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we're just ahead because we can just pull more creatures out of our deck, and then the only way we could lose is the Cataclysm, which we've meddled. So, yeah, Phil needs to somehow break this apart. But that's the Rebel plan. Like we get the game to go kind of long and grindy, and then all of a sudden, all of our creatures are like 2 or 3 for ones.
Yeah. If he could deploy, this Sultari priest from his hand, and then he could 2 shadow creatures would be good. He's gonna go ahead and attack with his first striker. That doesn't seem great with the factory.
Yeah. We can't attack into the factory unless we've got the disenchant.
I would rather not. Whoa, okay, that's
All
not what
right,
I
yeah,
expected.
forget it. New plan. Math is for blockers. I respect it. Yeah, we're like, yeah. I mean, this is reasonable. Like, you can sense that the game is kind of slipping away. Let's just try and see if Robert makes a mistake on blocks, or maybe Phil has some sort of trick in his hand, like a disenchant on the factory. Yeah. This is reasonable because if we sit back, we're actually just going to lose. So we need to make something happen. All right, so we're blocking with the factory and pumping with the factory. Probably eating the Silver Knight. Then our meddling mages can each block a 1/1. Feel like, yeah. Ugh. All right, well that plan sucked. Unless, yeah, that plan did not work out. So we're just in trouble. Okay, so we've got a plow. I might have been inclined to use that on the factory before blocks. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, the post combat plow is a little
Like
odd.
maybe he was thinking, oh, I can plow this meddling mage and cast Cataclysm.
Maybe.
And just didn't think about the counter spell being there.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Now we're definitely in a spot. So Robert still needs to go get that second whip quarter to lock down the shadow creature. But once that's done, Robert has total control of the board, and the only catch-up card Phil has is Cataclysm. That's locked out. Phil's other out would be Curse Scroll. If Phil could get Curse Scroll going, that could break this up. And Phil's got some time. Not a lot of time. He's got a couple of turns.
Yeah, and if he does have a Cataclysm, he could potentially just Curse Scroll the meddling mage and cast Cataclysm.
Right. Yeah. Over like 2 turns, that sequence that plays. This game is interesting because both players have consistently had like 3 or 4 cards in their hand, which is not usually how matchups where both decks are full of creatures play out. You know,
Right.
S-
Yeah.
like I'm tempted to say that these meddling mages are actually just ridiculous, and that Phil's hand is clogged up with Sultari priests, and
Yeah.
by the time
I
he
I,
had the
th-
mana
I
for a
think the
Cataclysm,
play
it was
last
too late.
turn makes it pretty clear he has a Cataclysm.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. So seal cleansing, factories out of the business, warships out of the business. Now we need to go tutor up another whip quarter so we can lock down the monk. Don't forget to do that. Disenchant the seal of cleansing.
Just the seal. Okay.
Okay, sure. And now, yeah, activate. Yeah, get the second whip quarter, and yeah, now we've locked up the board. Yeah,
Trying to
long live Whip
add a
Quarter. That card is
couple.
great. That card, I played Whip Quarter, and yeah, I'm not
Whipcorder is
ashamed of
really
it.
good. Like there are decks where you could just play the 1 mana rebel and Whipcorder as your only rebels, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, that's enough. Like that's just too much value. Um, all right, now hey, get the source of plowshares. At this point, I would actually I'd probably just plow the mom because the whip without the mom, Whip Quarter just locks at the board. But I didn't think it really matters terribly much. Um, yeah, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Still had all these. Yeah. I think that Phil is rapidly approaching the no outs scenario. Um, we have to like get Curse Scroll, have Robert have nothing, and kill Meddling Mage and cast Cataclysm. And I think that's like the only winning sequence here.
Yeah, I don't think there is one.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, we're gonna play some creature, play some Black Knight, or I think that's Black Knight. I really don't know what it is. It's got double white in the
uh,
mana cost.
that looks like the 2 mana in core creature.
Oh, okay, sure.
Uh,
I mean, I love watching Standstill, generating value. So it's looking great.
yeah, that's Warrior in core, which is a
Okay,
2/2 with the in core ability.
with the redirect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, this is wild to me seeing these like creatures played in fair magic. The only time I've seen uncorp creatures played is that like they're triggering their Cephalid Illusionist a billion times and like
Right.
flipping
Yeah.
their deck into the graveyard or like gaining a bunch of life with a task force or something weird like that.
Right.
Um, I've never seen them played in a normal game of Magic.
They used to get played in the white weenie decks in like that era, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. All right. So Robert just has to not make some like Robert just gained 3 life off this absorb, which uh yeah, I was surprised that's still in the deck, but it's looking good now. It's not even. I'm trying to think of some sequence where Robert like makes some critical game losing error, and that also seems quite far fetched.
Right. Yeah.
And it looks like Robert's not forgetting to attack. That would be a big part of Bill losing the game. Robert forgets to like attack. Yep, stays disciplined, leaves back his rebel for activations and his whip quarter for activations. No reason.
Man, it's really surprising that there's only 3 of those factories.
Yeah, I know, right? Like every game just has like factory standstill. So Phil is in the unenviable position of getting kind of choked on mana early in the game, which is the weenie deck that's okay. That means you've got a lot of spells, but now we're getting to the late game and we're drawing one too many lands. Uh, but even with like a stacked deck, we definitely couldn't figure out what to do. And in fact, Meddling Mage was just wrecking
Meddling
it.
Mage.
We just could make no plays. So we laughed at the Meddling Mage, except we didn't do that. We thought Meddling Mage was incredible, and it turns out that it was.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hopefully have Masi with the Replenish deck versus Counter Rebels coming up here in a second. I have to say, Counter Rebels looks pretty prepared for this matchup, especially post board. It's got Counter Magic, it's got Graveyard Hate, it's got Meddling Mage. This is a murderer's row of things you don't want to see as the Replenish deck. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming at you. We're bringing in the finals of our middle school league. We've got two, not one, but two blue-white decks battling it out. Get comfortable, folks. We're going to be casting some counter spells. We're drawing some extra cards. Oh, wait, this is coming in. Neither of these people are playing control. I don't even know what we're doing here anymore. Andrew, explain to me what these blue-white mages are doing if they're not playing control.
Yeah, so if you didn't see the last two matches, we have a blue-white combo deck, Replenish combo. So it is trying to quickly dump a bunch of enchantments in the graveyard, bring them back with Replenish, potentially do a lot of shenanigans to exile his opponent's lands and creatures, and just kill them with Opalescence. And on the other side, we have kind of a grindy creature-based deck in the blue-white Rebels. And it's a blue-white counter Rebel, so it's playing blue for counter magic and standstill, and white for Rebels. So ideally, you get a Rebel on board, drop a standstill, hide behind that Rebel, counter their spells, or put more Rebels in play.
All right. So in our previous match, we saw the Replenish deck kind of just have its way with an Oath of Druids Parfait deck. That matchup was definitely very lopsided. A lot of the decks that the Oath deck were playing, a lot of the cards just like weren't really relevant. And then all the Oath players' lands got exiled and they couldn't really play any magic. I think we're going to see kind of the opposite here. The Counter Rebels deck is very well situated to fight a combo deck. Once they get a Rebel into play, they never need to tap out on their main phase again. They can present counter magic. Before the card Replenish gets cast, the Replenish deck is not really doing anything, so Standstill is really good. I feel like, and also, even though Replenish is a white card, almost every other card in the deck is blue. The mana that is being presented right now by Mossy is a little awkward. I think Moss is really looking for a blue and island to cast some of the cards that power through their deck. So
yeah, I was actually kind of interested to see him play that City of Traders because, like, now if he plays a blue source, he has to sack that City of Traders.
Yeah, and I think Masa had to mulligan, so it's not like they'd be forced to discard if they didn't play the City of Traders. So now both players apparently have some kind of weird hands. Without a doubt, in my mind, the blue-white Rebels player has several counter spells in their hand, but we need to put a threat on the board to make these cards meaningful. And instead, we're just going to discard. This is a weird game already.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're discarding a card that doesn't matter, so that's fine. But yeah, Mazda's hand is not very good, but they're being given time to draw out of it because the Counter Rebels deck is not presenting any pressure. So, what is going on here? Yeah, get this Ramosian Sergeant into play. All right, Mother Runes, 20 turn clock. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, I'm sure from Rob's perspective, you want a hand with counter magic, and so he found one, and so it seems like a good keep. But actually, he's unable to punish Masa for this really bad hand that he had. All
right,
really,
we're
the sort of
casting
spell I
some
want to
spells.
counterspell. And I guess you can't present any pressure without him board, but
so we countered what was the Parallax Wave?
Yeah, the Parallax Wave.
I mean, the Parallax Wave can potentially buy some time. If our hand is just a whole bunch of counter spells, I guess that's okay. All right. That makes sense. We wanted to make sure that we could, ice the board with our standstill.
Sure.
So here we are. This is the recipe we drew up. We have pressure. We're presenting counter magic.
Yeah. One thing the Replenish deck is actually pretty good at doing is just casting its enchantments when it's facing counter magic, and then using the Replenish later on when you can run them out of counters.
Yeah, that's definitely something.
Because like the
So it's
Turlock
interesting.
sites are must counters, because if you don't counter those, they exile your
Yeah, you just
lands,
can't
and
do
then you
anything
can
anymore.
freely
Yeah.
freely resolve your spells.
Yeah, so we got to counter the opalescence. And it's interesting because by itself, the opalescence does nothing. But since Masa's entire deck is enchantments, we can be pretty
Right.
confident that some other enchantments are going to show up and be 4/4s bigger than our entire deck of 2/2 creatures.
Yeah, but I think Masa's like okay with how this game is developing actually, because he doesn't have a
Yeah,
lot of pressure on him, and he's just burning through counter spells. They're not being used on replenish.
yeah, I'm inclined to agree. We need more pressure on the side of the counter rebels deck. Um, I still think things are going. We've got our engine working, but we need to just to close the door. If we give our opponent enough time, they'll get out of it.
Yeah, it looks like here's another creature at least.
Okay, whip quarter, sure. Grizzly bears, let's go.
Yeah, 3 power is a lot more than one, so. And he
Uh,
has taken a decent amount of damage from this ancient tomb. So I actually don't. What is Moss's life total?
oh, let me see. Let me see. That information
It's
is not being
like
displayed.
14.
Yeah, opalescence, uh, parallax wave. So you have 14. Oh, they've even poked a couple of times by the mother runes, so maybe 12 or 11.
Yeah, he tapped the City of Traders once, so maybe.
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe it is just 14 then. All right, we're playing some more spells. Playing a disenchant. Okay, sure. Disenchant the opalescence. Yeah, not drawing blue mana, I feel like, is really hurting.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
And
You
irony.
have a bit of a penalty playing these Ancient Tombs and City of Traders, though. Like the mana is like all doubles in that deck. I
Mm,
built this deck, and the mana is a little rough. I mean, he plays Mox Diamonds to try to help it out. I think it also is an accelerant, but
all right. Now we're doing good. Our opponent's lands damage them. We've got 3 power, and yeah, we've got our card draw engine. We're presenting counter magic. The world is our oyster at this point as the counter rebels deck. And I
right.
have Masa at 11 and Robert at 13 from his own treacherous pain lands. Um, not that Robert's life total is tremendously relevant.
How is Rob taking damage?
He is like a darker waste and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a flooded strand and like 2 dark our waste have been poking him.
Yeah. I mean, I think unfortunately, Moss's deck is just kind of failing on him here,
Yeah.
but
Eh, and so we're not gonna. I think the advantage bar is very strongly in the counter rebel side at this point,
yeah,
and we think that things do get worse going in games 2 and 3. Maz's deck involves using the graveyard, so Tormod's Crypt is relevant, and also Meddling Mage is relevant. So a lot of very powerful cards get to be brought in for the Counter Rebels deck, and nothing equivalently as powerful is being brought in.
yeah. I mean, Massa has to board basically defensively against his opponent's interaction, so he probably is going to bring in something like um, Defense Grid.
Ooh, defense grid. But the thing is now post board, like we have besides counter magic, we also have meddling mages and crypts. So
Right.
that may not even interact with the appropriate type of countermeasures that are being deployed. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
this is the recipe against combo. Come in from a
Yeah.
bunch of angles, present
Right.
some pressure, and then close the door.
Yeah. I think that's like he can't board to stop all of the problems. Like he can't board to stop Meddling Mage and counter spells and Graveyard Hate. He actually has some board to help against all of those things. If he brings all of them in, he won't have a
Yeah, well,
plan
he won't
anymore.
have a deck. So we've got blue mana. We're spinning our wheels. Uh, Robert knows what's up. He's like, yes, you can do all of that. I will counter replenish. At this point, that is really the only card that's going to matter. We don't want to play anymore. We don't want to play anymore. Still had all these. Still
Three absorbs.
3 absorbs. Yeah, nice. Okay. So yeah, we mentioned that Robert definitely has the recipe with Tormod's Crypt and Meddling Mage. Like those cards are just coming in 100% of the time. And Masa has, Seal of Removal uh, and like Vince Grid. It's not as great. I mean, actually, the True Believer might be the best because it blocks these little dudes and stops the Tormod's Crypt. I don't know.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop any of the counter spells but it's got 8 counter spells. They all cost mana. Like he can just cast his spells through that potentially. So like he probably just ignores the defense grids. Like if I were him, I just wouldn't bother with the defense grid.
I wouldn't either. Also, if I were him and game 2, I'm on the play, I would keep if presented to me, I would keep an extremely aggressive hand and try to like turn 3 put like 2 enchantments into play and just kind of ride that advantage before the counter rebel deck gets set up.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's one thing about. I mean the deck can do something obnoxious on turn, even as early as turn 2. Although that's like pretty unlikely, but turn 3 and the half of his counter spells cost 3 mana.
Right. So like our deal start would be like land, Ancient Tomb, cast Attunement, the following turn cast Replenish, like on turn 3. I would go all in on that hand for sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and when you're playing combo, like you just have to sometimes go for it.
Yeah. That's a little bit harder. That's one of those things about playing in person versus webcam uh, versus like MTGO. Like in person, there's a lot more games where you can try and ferret out what's going on with your opponent's hand.
Right.
And over webcam, it's a little difficult. And then over MTGO, you're just like playing the odds. Like you just, I guess if you're really good with stops, you can figure out what your opponent's stops are doing. But that could just as easily mean that your opponent does not know how to use stops, which is what happens when people play against me, because I just don't
Yeah, I've
use that
definitely
interface very
like
well.
F6 through my opponent's turn with a counter spell, and they resolve a spell that I really wanted to counter. But the next turn, I get them.
Put him on tilt.
I had to reinstall Magic Online recently because I guess they did something with the software, and when I reinstalled it, F6 is no longer the default to skip through the turn. And I felt like that was just
What?
like a tragedy that they did that because it's like common lingo in Magic now to say
Yeah.
I'm F6.
Yeah. What is it now?
I think it's 6, like just the number 6.
That doesn't have the same rating. Get
I
out.
know.
All right. I think. Are we both on 7 at this point? So we're going in.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's drawn their hand yet.
Okay.
You guys just finished sideboarding. They sideboarded pretty quickly. I think they both kind of like knew what they were going to do, having seen the deck.
Yeah, yeah. Also in these matchups where your opponents, when one side is very linear, that makes sideboarding much easier. Especially with known information about deck lists. Like if the deck list wasn't known and my opponent presented a very linear deck to me game 1, one of my favorite things in Magic to do is present a linear deck game 1 and then present a much more grindy mid-rangey deck games 2 and 3 to make sideboarding difficult for my opponent. The way the Replenish deck works, that's not really possible. Like there's no like sideboard juke where you play a bunch of enchantments in your fair mid-range deck. You're just doing it. Speaking of doing it, we're playing the Seal of Removal.
Yeah, and so he's prepared. He prepared for the meddling mage. So it looks like that's like the line he took. Yeah. And one thing I'll say about the Replenish deck, I mean, I said in game one, is it kind of can play that mid-range game by just casting its spells. Unlike say like Reanimator, where like your spells cost like 8. His spells cost 4. But that's not good for Masa. Now his only option is to cast them or find like a Seal of Cleansing for that furnace. I can hear you. I assume others can hear you. I didn't hear anything for a minute. Oh, maybe Masa just brought in everything. I see Defense Grid and Seal.
Okay, yeah, just had some sort of glitch. Defense grid and seal, but we're firing back with our own
Does not
hateful
want to
enchantment.
print out Defense Grids, but like full foil everything else. Maybe we may have lost Woodrow again. I'm not sure. I'm not here, Woodrow.
Wait, am I jumping in and out? Hold, please.
But Masa has effectively shut off the counter magic plan, and okay. Sounds like I just can't hear Woodrow and everyone else can. So.
Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me? I can see and hear you. All right, great. Excellent. So yep, we're doing it. We're casting attunement, draw 3, discard 4. So this is how we load up the graveyard. And this can overpower the Phyrexian Furnace, which just exiles like 1 card at a time. So if we follow this up very quickly with Replenish, that this could put us significantly ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but the furnace can sack to remove a target card, right?
Yes. So tap to remove the bottom card, exile to remove a target card.
Right. My guess is like he might be trying to overpower it, but he also might just be looking for lands and Seal of Cleansing, but maybe he's just going to drop all the Seal of Cleansing into the graveyard.
Interesting. All right. And now, because order matters, Moss is being very careful about the order that he throws the spells into the graveyard.
Right.
All right. Get 1. Yeah, eats his defense grid. Sure.
Then he's going to get a Seal of Cleansing, and then he can get the other Seal of Cleansing.
Yeah, so just return attunement. That's not necessarily very exciting.
Yeah, but I mean, Masa might just be trying to force the sack. So he might just try to cast Replenish next turn just to get rid of the furnace.
Attack for 1. Get him. All right, so we're doing something.
I believe furnace does cost 1 to sack.
Okay. We're going to dismantling blow. Does 3 mana disenchant. We're probably going to blow up the defense grid. And yes, it does cost mana to. It's like Relic of Progenitus, or yeah, you have to pay mana to activate the ability there. So we're blowing up defense grid. So next turn, counter magic is online, and it is noteworthy that double blue is not being presented at this point in time.
Yeah. So he does have a window here to get back an attunement and a Seal of Cleansing, which basically the Seal of Cleansing can get rid of the furnace, which is kind of a long game, which I'm not sure is really what he wants to be doing. But
it's not the most exciting. Maybe we've got Frantic Search. Frantic Search would blow this wide open.
Yeah, Frantic Search could end the game right here.
Yeah, so you can just pack it up.
Yeah, Frantic Search is a very sneaky card in this deck because like you feel like they have some setup to do and they can do it all in one turn.
Wait, Andrew, are you saying that spells that don't cost mana are degenerate?
They're pretty good. Frantic Search is surprisingly fair in this format, though. Like, it doesn't see much play. I mean, like, it's very good in this deck, and there's like, kind of a fringy storm deck, mono blue storm deck that's not very good that plays it, but There's not a lot of other decks that play it. Like going down a card with it is usually not worth
Right.
it.
You're like, you have to be using your graveyard
Yeah.
to really get some value out of it. So all right, we're tapping mana. Whoa.
Oh,
Man, I'm
oh
not gonna
no.
lie. I've been making some really good calls today about what's going on. So, all right, Masa could steal this game. This is the window. Our opponent's
Yeah,
tapped
he gets
out.
to
There's no
float
force.
some mana. Oh
Whoa,
yeah.
putting
He's got
Opalescence in
all
Parallax
these. Yeah,
Wave. So yeah, this could be this is exactly it. Show me the replenish. Yeah.
yeah. He's
We're
got it.
doing it. Okay. Yeah, this is big game happening right here.
Yeah, and he has the combo that is going to be really hard to get out of because he
To
can
interact
exile
with.
all creatures forever. Now he can't get rid of the lands with what he has, but he
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
creatures forever.
So yeah, we just get to throw all these enchantments into play, and unless strangely, no, there's nothing. At this point in the game, I do not believe there's anything in Robert's deck that gets him out of this.
So I think looking back, that dismantling blow was a mistake. Not leaving the 1 mana available for his furnace
Yeah,
made this turn a lot worse. Because if he could have exiled either the Parallax Wave or the Opalescence, probably the Opalescence,
yeah, the Opalescence, I think.
then this replenish is not game ending if he's able
Yeah,
to do that.
but now we're just kind of not doing anything. I don't think there's like any outs. If
Maybe if he brought
we,
in Wrath of God. No, he just
yeah,
hides all the enchantments.
yeah, all
And
the enchantments just get hidden.
yeah,
Well, if we blow up the Opalescence, then the enchantments quit being creatures, and that will buy us some time because we
yeah, that's
can't
true.
wave out the Opalescence. It's not a creature.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
so disenchant on Opalescence does do something. But instead, we've got like Bird Sergeant, who
Yeah.
sadly is outclassed by like these large enchantment creatures.
Yeah. I don't know, the field cleansing the 1/1, so
Yeah, there we go. That'll teach him.
but I don't know why you cast that. It just gets permanently exiled. He's just gonna exile it, blink his own Parallax Wave. I don't know what you accomplish by casting it.
Nothing. Assuming our opponent plays correctly, and I think we can rely on Masa to intelligently use his own deck. Yep, here we are doing that stuff. Yeah. All right. We spot checked our opponent. Hey, do you know how your cards work? Yes, your stuff is exiled. Okay. we now know that.
Yeah. Rob
Don't
might
forget
just
to
be
attack.
in the. My only hope of winning this game is my opponent doesn't understand how his cards work.
That happens sometimes. We're like, oh, uh, most famously, I don't know if you played when Flash, Protean Hulk, that was a zillion years ago as a combo. Um, anyway, a friend of mine, everyone would just concede. You just say Flash, Protean Hulk, and your opponent would be like, all right, I don't want to play anymore. I'm dead. You get this crazy combo on me. And one of my friend's opponents at the GP was like, no, play it out. And my opponent didn't know how the combo worked. And so he like messed up the combo and like lost.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Beating down with enchantments, exiling our opponent's creatures, just doing everything we could ever want.
I played some Magic Online games of vintage where my opponent time vault combos me, but I'm like, maybe you'll play a Mana Crypt and kill yourself.
It could happen. All right. Musa still got gas in the tank. Sure, why not? Let's cast Deep Analysis. I don't think we can lose this game, but we're gonna make real sure. Yeah, take that, Deep Analysis. I'm gonna exile a card out of your graveyard. Sure thing, buddy. All right. Do any of my cards do anything? Like I said, if we got Disenchant on Opalescence, no, we did not do that. So it is time to go to game number 3. It's definitely going to help us out. We'll be able to leave mana up earlier. It's distinctly possible that Rob didn't even have counter magic. Like, for
Yeah.
note, earlier in the game, he only had one blue source. So if you had counter magic, maybe it wasn't even castable. But good on Masa for like picking a spot, seeing his window, and using degenerate free spells to just kind of sneak out a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah. Interestingly, maybe the defense grid won the game despite like never being relevant in play.
Yeah,
He got his opponent to tap out.
yeah, definitely. Had to get this dismantling blow. If this dismantling blow had simply been disenchant, very different game. But
Yeah, the upside of dismantling blow is like sweet when you can do it, but I just find like I rarely have that much mana.
that's never happened. Like I've played the only time the other side of dismantling blow has ever come up for me is when I'm playing EDH. Like in no competitive format have I had that much mana lying around to disenchant something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see like people play a split of it in this format sometimes in like Landstill too, and I don't know. I'd rather just have a Seal of Cleansing or a Disenchant. Seal of Cleansing has a lot of upside that
Seal of Cleansing is
over
great.
Disenchant.
Yeah.
It's like it's not always, having an instant like surprise Disenchant can be good, but Seal of Cleansing being on the board, like it can pull up a Standstill or something. I mean, you're in the Standstill deck, so maybe you don't care about that, but
no, that's definitely relevant. Having played the Standstill matchup, a Seal of Cleansing being in play alters how things work, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting our money's worth. We're getting to game 3. Both of these players have top 8'd before. So, have either of them won before? I think they both like top 8'd, but I don't think either of them has won.
They both top 8'd multiple times. I don't think either of them have won a league yet. So
Okay.
I think they're both like, eager to probably get the win.
Yeah, I don't think I've won a middle school league. I think I made it to the finals, but I never actually won one.
Really? Yeah, I guess you made it to the finals.
No, wait. No, yeah. The one time I got to the finals and lost, but that time I will say I played an incredibly epic semifinals matchup that lasted like 3 hours. So I got my money's worth.
What was it, a Landstill mirror?
Yes, the Landstill mirror like went to deck out. My opponent conceded because he ran out of all win conditions, as Magic should be played.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with the top 8 this league. This year's middle school leagues have had like kind of like sad endings where we had like a Landstill mirror and then an Elves mirror and then an Elves mirror.
Yeah.
So I'm glad like in the top 8s were diverse, but then like what rose to the top were probably like what like we would consider like 2 of the best decks in the format, just in a mirror match in the finals. So
yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that assessment that the survival elf deck and the Landstill deck are definitely like 2 of the best decks in the format. Like we've seen that reflected in our results. The survival elf deck is really powerful in generating a lot of mana and has a lot of resiliency very quickly with survival and like elf synergies. And the Landstill deck has all of these incredibly efficient cards, and it has a game plan that game 1 is very difficult to attack because it's not playing creatures. It's just playing like a bunch of counter spells and lands, which are hard things to interact with, So I felt like both of those decks are very good, and that the format, even though we're looking at these super cool decks right now, is kind of solved. But hey, we're about to have our invitational. Maybe somebody is got some secret sauce for us.
I played Elves in the last invitational, so yeah. My secret sauce was play the deck I thought was really good.
Oh, it's definitely really good. I would not fault anyone for playing it. All right, I guess we're casting Strategic Planning over here. We're casting some sort of 2-mana spell. Maybe it's just Seal of Cleansing. Seal of Cleansing relevant, stops the factory, stops Standstill.
Yeah, looking at Rob's board, I'm not feeling great about it being plains factory.
Yeah, like
But I
where's the
mean,
blue source meddling mage?
yeah,
Okay. Now we're in trouble because all of our, we don't have counter spells. We don't have blue for meddling, and the seal of cleansing also checks Tormod's crypt. We can't just
right.
drop crypt and feel okay about it.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing any tournament scripts. I think he's got 2 furnaces and
Oh, okay, okay.
regurgitate.
Well, same deal. All right, Parallax Tide. Get out of here, Lance. Um, we've got the combo, seal of cleansing into Parallax Tide.
Yeah, I guess you
We're in
just
trouble.
go ahead and exile his 3 lands now.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. And okay, if we had a disenchant, I think we were supposed to have disenchanted the seal of cleansing while the Parallax Tide was on the stack. That might have been what we were supposed to do. What is going on here?
I don't know. He kept pointing to his City of Traders. I'm not.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's what ended up happening. We cast
Okay.
Disenchant on the Seal of Cleansing while the Parallax Tide is on the stack. So we're not just going to get all of our lands exiled forever. All right. And the Parallax Tide eats one of the lands. And eats all the other lands. Sure. All right. So we're not going to be doing much for a while.
Oh, those are his only 3 lands.
Okay. This keep with no blue mana sources seems a little ambitious. We'll see. Okay, defense grid. Well, our opponent has no blue mana, so sure, defense grid.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
The emphatic thumbs up.
All right. Yep. Can't do anything about that. All right, now we're gonna play strategic playing.
Strategic plan.
Sure. Man, just thinking about it, like with strategic planning, and nowadays you have expressive iteration. It's just like so much better. I guess if you want to throw cards into the graveyard, strategic planning is better. But
Yeah. Again, this deck, I think I would. I mean, well, not to mention the red requirement, but
yeah.
Deck, I think strategic plan would be better, even if iteration were blue 1.
Okay, so and in turn, these lands are all going to come back. So Moss is going to need to follow up. What do we have? Attunement. Okay. So next turn, we can see a lot of enchantments hop into play.
Yeah,
so
my guess is Masa already has the replenish. He was just waiting
Yeah.
for the Parallax Tide to go to the graveyard.
or to have the defense grid for the setup, because now if we do have replenish, we can do the same thing. We can exile all the lands and blow up the Parallax Tide with our Seal of Cleansing, which is also in the graveyard, and we're protected by the defense grid, so there's no counterplay available from Robert. So this could be the knockout punch right now. Robert letting us know that everything's okay with thumbs up. Yep. Since Moss has put the F6 button on him. That's right, MTGO F6.
Yeah, Rob's hand seemed pretty bad in game 3. Yeah, like maybe he's had multiple disenchants and was hoping like that would be good enough, and he would find.
Yeah, it's hard to. That's not nothing, but I think his deck is definitely capable of much more than just disenchant.
Right.
All right, so are we frantic searching? What's going on here? Okay.
No,
we're just replenishing. All right, so a bunch of enchantments are going to come into play, and then Robert will have no lands. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Robert can't because of the defense grid.
Like,
can't like do anything about that. Everything is terrible. All these attunements show up. So there's no opalescence. So
Yeah.
Rob won't like be killed, but Rob will have no resources. And we've seen a couple of games already. It's very hard to win games of Magic when you don't have any lands. Yeah. Exiled forever and ever and ever. All right. Oh, hey, I still got spells to play. Look at all this fun I'm
Yeah.
having playing spells.
Yeah, I mean, Rob's deck definitely has the tools, but
Yeah, they
yeah,
did
just
not show up this game.
yeah.
So now, even though
And
Rob's
I'd
not dead,
also say Moss's hand was quite good.
it
So he
was. It
had
had all the right pieces. Yeah, this game is kind of we get to watch Rob move to discard a couple of times because no lands.
yeah. I mean, depending on how, I mean, he just cast strategic plan. He's got 2 entombments in play. Like, I can't imagine it's gonna take him too long to find
You
the
had to find the
opalescence.
opalescence and just like insta kill. All right, sure. Let's cash in this attunement.
I have to, after the stream, go put my deck list together and
Same.
send them to Stu.
Stu is putting angry messages into the chat about how no one's in a deck list. So, same. All right. Well, we're discarding this opalescence. This is a strong tell that, in fact, Replenish will be placed onto the stack shortly, ending the misery.
Yeah. You know, if it weren't open deck list, like I don't think Masa could so
Cavalierly
aggressively
just
do
like
this.
do whatever.
Yeah, because like it might get forced after he like discards all of his relevant cards.
No, there's a defense grid. He can't get forced.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like literally, there's nothing that can be done here.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. No, we're casting like frantic search. Haven't found it yet. Okay, more strategic planning.
Yeah, we still don't have the replenish.
The replenish. All right. Well, we'll just discard these frantic searches, or mill those away, and replenish won't show up this turn. It's coming.
It could be City Mox Diamond.
Okay. Oh, we're casting another attunement or a frantic search. Yeah. Okay. Frantic search. We could definitely cast replenish this turn. Yep. Please make it stop. And it is stopped now. We're dead. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So his hand, a blue source earlier in the game, and we just played out these meddling mages and easily locked this up, but it didn't happen. Yeah, our opening hand had plains, factory. I see what the thinking was.
Yeah, it's a tease. Like he's got 2 disenchants and meddling mage. Like, so if he draws the blue source, his hand is
it's just off to the races.
If he doesn't draw the blue source, he's got disenchants to buy himself some time. But
all right. Well, congrats. Sweet combo decks prevailing. I'm sure that feels good for you, Andrew. And,
I like combo decks.
Yeah, combo decks are sweet. I like blue-white decks. We got a little bit of both here. I thought both these decks were cool. Both these players have been top 8 before. They've been hustling. And, Masa definitely, it's a labor of love. So congrats to him. Like I said, he's in Japan. It's actually like 11 a.m. in Japan right now, but he came to game. So, yeah, mad respect. I would not have done the same. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would be like, sorry guys, I'll just concede. I've got other things to do.
Yeah, it's really cool that he's joined our leagues. Like we run this from our like local Austin group. We picked up, basically a lot of the middle school players in the world. We got like, several groups in the US, and there is like a group of middle school players in Japan. And I think Mas is the only one that's joined us, but I'm glad that he's been joining us and he has done well in a lot of our leagues. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll bring his friends along for the next league. Um, that being said, obviously that was our last league of the year. We've got our invitational this weekend for people who have won these leagues, who have won vintage events that we had in Austin. That the invitational will be streamed. And unfortunately, there's not going to be a winner's interview. We mentioned that the time difference, so we won't be conducting that, sadly. But congrats, and thanks to all our players for coming out and supporting this neat and unusual format. People who like to brew really like the format. You get to play with cards that may not be legal or maybe not be powerful enough to play in other formats. So it's an enjoyable breath of fresh air, and of course blue white ones. Yeah, the invitational will have middle school rounds and vintage rounds, and it will start at 10 a.m. No, 10 a.m. Central Time Saturday. So come back to the same channel, watch us all, slinging some cardboard and probably making a bunch of misplays.
All right.